a leader has to choose to lead. It has to come from within. They have to really want to be a leader. If not, no matter how much you can push them, you're not going to be pushed them enough for them to be actually a good leader. To have emotional intelligence, and I'm going to tell you what that means that in a second. To have appreciative inquiry. And appreciative inquiry goes hand in hand with emotional intelligence. They are big words, but they are actually very simple. Emotional intelligence meaning there is something called brain intelligence and emotional intelligence. The brain intelligence is what we call, or what we know as an IQ. The emotional intelligence is what it's called EQ now. And they combine not only the intelligence of the brain that you're born with, but also the emotional intelligence that you developed throughout your life. And you are a better leader if you have higher emotional intelligence than regular intelligence. Appreciative inquiry is appreciation inquiry is when you ask about something. So what happens, like when something gets thrown at you or to you, either it's good or bad, you need to find out what's good about it. You need to think about the lesson you're learning from it, rather than saying, why me? Rather than, and a lot of people have that habit when something happens, oh, that only happens to me. You know, and the more you say that only happens to me, the more bad things are going to happen to you. Because this is what you're putting out to the universe or whatever, you know, you need to have appreciative inquiry. You need to appreciate everything you have. You know, you need to appreciate everything that happens. You need to appreciate no matter what happens around you, there is always a lesson to learn. So you should think about the lesson that you want to learn. Everything in this life happens, and I totally believe in that. I'm not just saying that, and during the course I'm going to be sharing with you personal experiences that will show you that I mean what I said. Everything happens for a very good reason, even if we fail to see it at the moment. Okay? Everything is done like by a measuring tape. Everything is done perfectly. Either we see it or we don't. No matter what we believe in, no matter what power we believe in, or how we call that power. There is someone always watching over us. And everything happens for a reason. It's usually a good reason. Provide future vision, inspire, make people important and appreciated, have ethics, integrity, set expectation, lead by example, care, compassion, and empathy. And we discussed each single one of them. So it's basically the summary of everything. And again, you have that in your book. Everything that is on that presentation is in your book. And that's on page 29. Now, we discussed what can make a successful leader, so the only logical thing is to think what can make a leader fail. So the first one is lack of honesty. If there is a lack of honesty in a leader, that means that you cannot trust them. And people have a lack of honesty could be for two reasons. Because they don't know an answer and they feel shy or too big to say, I don't know. So they make up an answer. And then later on you find out that it's not the truth. Or they're not capable of dealing with the truth. Or take accountability for what they do. Or be strong enough to say, yeah, I did it, or this is what I believe in. That's lack of honesty. And then there is inconsistency, like we talked about this morning. You cannot lead one day, and then 3 days later say, oh, I don't feel like it. Maybe tomorrow, maybe after tomorrow. You can't go back and forth in leadership. Leadership is constant, and it has to be all the way up. So, and then there is the insecurity. Insecurity when a leader does not trust the people around them, where they always look over their shoulder. When someone comes up with an idea, they crush these ideas because they don't believe in that. A very big example, if I'm sure that you all heard about Saddam Hussein from Iraq. You know, when he was the president, and he would be like in a conference or in a meeting with his generals or his people, whoever would say no to him or would come up with a different answer, because he was very insecure and he always looked, he didn't trust and looked over his shoulder, he would just shoot them right there and that. You know, just because they would just say something different, because he was very insecure in whatever he had, and he felt that the power would come only this way. And then there's dictator, and the dictator is like basically they trust only themselves. So they see it's my way or the highway. You guys don't know anything. I'm the one that knows everything, and you have to abide by my rules. So these are the reasons why people can fail as leaders. More reasons to fail. There is something called the 5 C's, and I call them emotional cancers. That it's 5 C's. And the first one is criticizing. When someone is always criticizing anything and everything, no matter it's bad or good. And I have seen a lot of people like that in my life. They will just criticize just because they want to criticize. Just because they want you to feel that you're small and they're big. When it's actually the other way around. Complaining. There are people that are always complaining and complaining about anything good or bad that happens to them. It's what I call the victimitis syndrome, where they always feel they are a victim and everything that is happening to them is bad and they just need to complain. And you know what? I know someone like that, and for 5 years, that person has been complaining, and in 5 years, nothing good happened to her. Because no matter what, she goes like, oh, I don't know what's going on. This keeps happening to me. Yeah, because this is what you put out. You know, you don't see anything in it. And then there is comparing your own worth, where you say, I'm better than them. Why are they having this and I'm not having that? You always compare yourself. You should never compare yourself to someone else. You should always be feeling comfortable with who you are. And if you want to develop something or grow, you work on that growth. You work on that development. But you do not compare yourself and start comparing and be jealous and, oh, they're not worth it than I am. You know? And then there is competing. Some people feel like they have to compete with everybody and everything. I had a friend that whatever I did, she would try to do better. Whatever I bought, she would try to buy better. Whatever I did, and at the end, you know, it was such a toxic friendship that I had to let go. Because I'm not why should I compete with anybody? I am who I am, everybody else is whoever they are. Why should I feel that I have to be competing? Again, it comes from insecurity. And then there is contending or argument, where someone is always arguing. No matter what it is, they're just arguing. So these are the 5 cancers, emotional cancers, that a leader can fail. This is my favorite part, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a new science. And there are a lot of branches of science that came together. It's a branch of neurolinguistic, psychology, psychiatry. A lot of people from different branches of science came together, and they found out that people that have high IQ do not necessarily mean good leaders. And people that have IQ do not necessarily mean that they achieve success. Like, for example, Steve Jobs. He was not a very high IQ, but he was very highly emotionally intelligent. And that's why he was a good leader. He didn't even finish college. Bill Gates did not finish college. But they were highly emotionally intelligent, and that's why they were successful. Because they know how to deal with people. They know how to make things work. So being emotionally intelligent is for us to know how we're feeling, what are our feelings, what are our blocks. And again, remember I said leadership is about a journey within yourself. So you need to know what are your hot buttons. What pushes your button? And I'm sure that each one of us have their buttons. You know, and we know what can make us really go red and we don't see anymore, we are angry. Or what can flatter us that we can give in the farm. You know, so we need to know what are our hot keys that make us go either right or left. So we need to know, to be emotionally intelligent, to know that, to know how we feel, how we manage our feelings. And once we get to know that, we know, believe it or not, how to control, how to manage the feelings of the person in front of us, or the emotions in front of us. Because if someone is in front of you and is very angry and starts shouting, if you are angry back, what will happen? Exactly. But if you're trying to be calm and bring that discussion down, do you think it's a better solution?
Yes.
Exactly. Especially if you know how to connect emotionally with that person. And you gotta try to make sense to them. You bring something that you have in common, you know, and you start from there and you bring them emotionally down. So the people resonate with people that they want to connect to emotionally. And the best part is that we are not born emotionally intelligent. but it's a learned ability. We are born with high IQ or not, but emotional intelligence is something that you learn throughout your life. You control your own feelings, you control your own emotion, and you manage to understand other people's feelings and emotions and make it work between all of you. And then it can reduce stress because it decreases conflicts. Because the more you're secure with your feelings and emotions and you know how to manage them, you can bring the person in front of you down out of anger or of a conflict. Because you establish a common ground of emotions and you start a discussion from there.
Can you repeat this, please?
Sure. When, about the stress or about the whole thing?
Yeah, to calm down.
To calm down. When you know how to control your own emotions, like for example, I know that when someone, I'm just going to give not necessarily a real example. If someone attacks Middle Easterns, for example, okay, I know it's a hot button for me and it makes me angry. You know, but when I found out that when people start that discussion from an angry point of view and I get angry, I am proving the point.
Yeah.
Okay, but when I'm like relaxed and I know where they're coming from, and I start my discussion where like I understand where you're coming from, because I know that whatever you saw proves whatever you say, but the reality is this and this and this. So I know what are my hot buttons, and I know what pushes my button to make me angry. But if I get angry, it's going to go into a fight. But if I'm calm and reasonable and logical, the other person can go high to such a point and then will have to come down, no matter what they do. So it's able to manage your feelings, and managing your feelings and emotions, you're able to manage the person in front of you. Even in relationships. You know, if you have a husband, a boyfriend, a significant other, whatever it is, you know, the more you argue with them, you know, the more it's going to be a fight and the more the relationship is going to be bad. But if you use you're being smart and you let the wave go for now, you're not giving in or giving up. You're just letting it go because this is not the right time to talk to, you know, and you let it go, you know, and then when the right time comes, you start that conversation again on a better basis, you will get a result. But if you scream and they scream, it will be ugly at the end. And you can end up in ending that relationship when it could be a very good one. But it needs some work on it. Being emotionally intelligent needs work, needs everyday work. It needs compromise. It needs you to know that this is what you need to work on. And because you can manage the anger or the emotions of someone else, you can manage the stress. So the stress levels will always go down. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It has 4 elements, emotional intelligence. The first one is self-awareness. Self-awareness, self is self. Awareness is like you are aware, okay, what are your emotions and how they affect you. Like I know I'm very sentimental towards this subject, for example. So if I'm going through a situation like that, I make sure, like when I used to go to funerals, I used to cry my eyes out, you know, and even if I didn't really know that person that well. But it touches a nerve in me, you know, but now when I go, I'm like, okay, it's someone that passed away, you know, they are in a better place, they are, you know what I mean? It's just like I kind of talk to myself and I calm myself down so I don't have the same emotional reaction anymore. And then there is the self-management, is knowing, like I said, I talk to myself, I manage my feelings that, okay, if someone is in a better place or they stop suffering or, you know, a reason why they have to be there or a reason why they died, you know, and I manage my feelings at that, I can keep my feelings in check and somehow manage my feeling that way. So self-awareness, self-management, and then there is social awareness, is when you recognize what's going on around you and you are listening and you nurture these relationships around you. So social awareness, and then the last one is relationship management, where you actually influence others, handle conflicts, and develop that relationship with them. I know emotional intelligence is new and it's a lot to absorb, but if you, this is part of your homework, and it's just like whenever we leave the class, you're going to have to go through that class before we come back again. So if you have any questions, and we can discuss the sessions before so we can connect all the classes together. Emotional intelligence, believe it or not, when you read it and you get it, it will apply to your everyday life, and it will make your life so much easier. I'm speaking from personal experience. So once you know what pushes your button, and you know that this pushes your buttons, and you stop it to push your buttons so you don't have to react in a negative way, you're able to deal with people, and you'll somehow control the person in front of you to bring them down to your level, and then you can have a discussion. This is what emotional intelligence is. And you can apply it at home, you can apply it at work, you can apply it in your friendships, anywhere you are. I'm a great believer in emotional intelligence. And then, the leader's journey, like we said, it starts within themselves. So in order for you to start understanding the person in front of you, it always starts with you. Any journey starts with you. You cannot, we said it's lead by example. You cannot ask people to do something if you don't do it. So you need to have a stop with yourself and start really researching within you how you are. And I know this might be big words for someone as young as Roxanne, but it's the right way for her to start her life. Instead of going totally right or totally left and then try to get back to the middle. It's about us discovering who we are. And once we discover who we are, there is nothing that can stop us from achieving anything we want. Nothing. So it just, you go on and on and on because you actually know who you are. And you actually know how to deal not only with yourself, but with others and influence them to do whatever you want them to do, either as a team or as a project. There are 4 branches of emotional intelligence. The first one, perceiving, reasoning, understanding, and managing. Perceiving is how you can feel these feelings, and this is where it all starts. You can't really act on feelings if you don't perceive them. And perceive them, again, our perceptions depends on our background, depends on our culture. We can perceive things different ways. So we need to put that in consideration. So you might react to me in a way where I'm going to perceive it's not right. So my whole reaction would be wrong. So in order for me to perceive properly, I have to actually understand not only myself, but the person in front of me. And once I understand this emotion, I can reason with them. I can talk to myself. I can say, like the funeral, they are in a better place, they did this because they were in pain or whatever. Like my baby sister, 4 years ago, passed away from cancer. And she was 39 years old. She had 2 babies. She was a brilliant medical doctor. And she has PhDs and everything. And when she died, I couldn't find that place, where I could make it better. But you know what? I had to reason with myself. And I used to, like, whenever the subject would come up or whenever her name would come up, I would start crying like a child. And now I can speak about it from a better place because I realized, you know what? When she lived, she went to chemotherapy 3 times a week. She was in pain. She was really suffering. So for her to leave this world was the best thing that can ever happen to her. Though I hate it, but it was the best for her. And if I loved her enough, I would want for her well-being. So this is how you reason with yourself. You perceive it, you understand it, you reason with it, and then you manage it. Because you put all the reasons why you should this, you do this, you start managing whatever is going on. It's about understanding your emotions and dealing with them. And that's why I told you, by the end of this course, I promise you that you're going to know how to manage your emotions. You know what I mean?